Okay. So today, since it's the last Saturday of the month of Native Arts, I'm doing what's called Rosemaling. And this is a native art from Norway. So it does look a lot like East European art, and I'm sure there must have been some kind of influence from somewhere or the other. But this is, I think it's not very old. Whatever I have read about it says that it's from maybe the 1700s onwards. And this art was used to decorate everything from homes to furniture, little pieces of pots and pans and things like that. Now, of course, it's become very popular, and a lot of people are using that for greeting cards, maybe even for other kinds of graphics. I guess it's open for everyone to use however they want to. Sorry. So as usual, the colors that were used were dependent on the region, and even the motifs were used different according to different regions. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how these motifs work and how you can construct these Rosemaling. So they can be a little complicated when you see them finished, but they start off very simply by using just a C shape and an S shape, and then combinations of just that in large, small, thick, thin varieties, and you can create very complicated patterns. It's really beautiful. So I'll show you some variations of this historically. I have made one pattern, which I'm going to show you how to make. So this one, I'll show you the construction in pencil, and then we can paint it together. And I'll show you some other samples also. And then I'll speak a little bit about the samples, the pictures that I have shared on the group. So the word Rosemaling actually just means rose painting. Maling is painting. And I believe in Sweden, there's another kind of maling. Oh God, I forget now, some Dalen maling or something like that. I'll quickly tell you what it is.
So is that what they do on those Dala horses? They have those very typical horses, no?
Correct.
Swedish.
Correct. It's the same.
The wooden.
Right.
Those are called Dala horses, no?
They're called Dala horses, but the artwork is called something else, and it's all based on something that's called a kurbits, Kurbits. But that's Swedish, so we don't need to go next door to Sweden. But it's all pretty linked, but each region has a distinct style. So let me give you an idea of how many different variations you can have with this. I'm going to share a list of articles and also YouTube videos that I will share with you after the class so you can read it. Okay, before I forget, I need to correct something from last week of the mud cloth design that we had done. Let me just bring that. Just give me a second. Since I had multiple classes afterwards to do, I kept reading up on more stuff. So one thing kept bugging me. What bugged me most was how did they change color between dyes and how did they block color? And I was assuming that they are using either wax to block it or they are using bleach. So I think traditionally would be very difficult. I don't know what other than cat pee would be as full of ammonia to bleach, and they could have used that, but I could not find any reference of that. So I just wanted to clarify And in the process of making mud cloth, what they did was they first made the black design. So that itself became the block, and inside those sections, then in some places they would apply with a different brush the red or orange color. So I have made an illustration of that, and I'll just show you how that works. And it'll be there in one of the videos that I've sent you. So this is how on the cloth they would mark with black all these. And you can see how that's easy to understand now. So you mark this cross, you make these lines, and then make those circles, and then make these lines. And then you've already created these triangles in these spaces in which then you can apply the red dye wherever you need and leave the yellow the way it is. So now the white part, I'm not sure. The white that we leave as white is probably just the color of the base mordant, which was yellow. And this was probably applied to some places to make it even a deeper yellow. So what we did last time was we marked out all these areas individually, painted these first, and then painted the background. That is fine for watercolor painting because watercolor runs. But originally, you would just have somebody mark, and it makes so much sense. I don't know why we didn't think of this. It makes so much sense to make the geometric patterns. And in the places that you have left, then you can choose whichever other color you want to add. Okay, so that's taken care of.
Aditi, did you send the video for that one or the link?
I think I did, but if I haven't, please somebody can you just check and tell me, because it's very possible
Just
that
checked, I didn't
I've
realize it.
gotten it, or there are so many videos that
You did send one video.
I've just said one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that
I'll
one
send you
was
the
for
other
the
one.
family, right? The family
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah, the family
Yeah.
trip, and but there was another one also which had a lot of information. I'll share that also. The
No, I
Bogulan
mean for
project.
the art class video. Because
Sorry,
I missed
which?
it last week.
Oh, the class video I haven't sent.
Yeah.
Oh my God, and it's been a week. Okay, I'll send it. I'll send it.
Thank you.
Tomorrow
I
I'll
missed
send.
that, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So this is the Rosemaling design now. Now there were at least 9 regions from where they have traced a particular style of Rosemaling. I'll share one video of a gentleman who's described them beautifully. And I have taken just a few samples from the net, not the samples from his video, because I just wanted to employ whatever he has shown in his video to other designs to figure out whether what he was explaining was correct. So the common features that we have are a C shape and an S shape. Everywhere you see that this is just built up with C shapes and S shapes. There's an S here and C here. So again, a rounded C, and then you have an S. So this one is, I found this one to be the easiest, the one that we built up also. And this is called the Telemark Rosemaling, the Telemark. So Telemark is a region or a valley in Norway. Likewise, you have Gudbrandsdal, Hallingdal, and Rogaland. So these 4 are 4 of 9 valleys which have different styles. I haven't gone into all of them. At some point in another life, I'll do this research also. But the difference is in how the motifs are arranged. And this is what you can look at. It's quite fascinating. So in the Gudbrandsdal, you have all of these are based on the acanthus leaf. So the acanthus is an old, it's honestly, it's like Congress grass. Have any of you seen Congress grass very closely? It grows wild everywhere.
Yeah.
Generally is such an ugly looking bush, but if you just pull out the leaves and you check it out, the leaves have a beautiful structure. And I found that that leaf is very close to how the acanthus leaf looks. So now there's a very interesting history about how acanthus started being used as a decoration in old Greek and Roman buildings. So everywhere you see those Corinthian columns and all, they're all acanthus leaves. And the reason I suppose is because, so there was a Roman or a Greek architect who saw an acanthus leaf piling or growing out of what's a cornucopia. Do you know that basket that they show? It's a fruit collecting basket, which is it's almost shaped like a horn. And what it does, it works like a matka. So women would hold it along their waist. It would be round here and then tapering at the bottom. But you can, when you keep it sideways, it just looks like a huge horn shaped thing. That's called a cornucopia. So it was probably an abandoned basket from where this creeper came out, and he really liked it. And then he decided, this was I think in 70 BC or something, and he decided to use it in all of his columns. So everybody else also used the same one. He was probably the Frank Lloyd Wright of that time. So from there on, the acanthus leaf has always been used in decoration of one sort or another, whether it is things like these, and these illustrations were often used inside buildings. They're used for carved wood. They are used in even in calligraphy, in illumination. This became the easiest leaf pattern to take and mold to whatever nice decorative form you wanted to mold it to. So I'll share a picture of the acanthus leaf also, but it's more or less like that. It's got several little bumps on the leaf, and they fold very beautifully. So it twists very nicely, and you see the folded leaf structure. So this folded leaf structure, very complicated structure, this was from Gudbrandsdal, or Gudbrandsdal, yeah. Then you had Telemark, which was based on one dominant C shape and one focal point or a root of the design, and everything emerged from here. So you would have one significant root. So even if you built something beyond that, everything could be traced to one single, almost like a seashell shaped center. Now here it seems the same structure, but the leaves are distinctly different. Here you have leaves which are much simplified. Here you have leaves that are a little more complicated. Then you have the Hallingdal style, which is symmetrical. Neither of these are symmetrical. So these two, Hallingdal and Rogaland, are symmetrical. Hallingdal has always got a large floral center. Usually the background would be red. So if you saw a red Rosemaling, it was in all probability a Hallingdal. The leaf patterns apparently are also very bright green and very prominent. And then all the other elements of the drawing would trace towards the center, towards the flower, and bring focus over here. Now, Rogaland and Hallingdal seem pretty similar, except that in Rogaland, there was a lot of linear symmetry also. So here, what I just learned yesterday is this is called point symmetry. So things from one point are symmetrical. And from here, over here, there's also a line symmetry. Only left and right are symmetrical, not top and bottom. But in Rogaland, you would have left and right also, and top and bottom also. So very often this would be just like a fractal that would grow outward. I've also seen this with 5 points. So here we have 4 points, but you will often have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, one central flower also. So that too can be split into half. Very interesting. So here again, you have a central flower. The symmetry is even more pronounced in Rogaland. And as you proceed towards the outside, the flowers start receding. That seems to be the case with most of the others. But over here, not necessarily, neither over here. This has more leaves than flowers in any case. So with just a few variations, the design can look very different. And for us, because we are not from the region, we just look at this and say, "Arey, it's same design." But I've learned my lesson that that's an easy assumption to make, and it's often to our detriment. We miss out on a lot of fun with that. So I'm going to share the screen now with the illustrations that I've sent to you, and we can now see if we can make sense, if there are any, oh, sorry. Oh. Okay, so here we see a very prominent C shape, another C shape, S shape, and fairly simplified. This is the Telemark. Now the flowers are also pretty simple, mostly just C-shaped petals. Then let's see the next one. This is the one that I'd illustrated. This one is the Gudbrandsdal. Can you see these folded leaves? They're folding around and quite complicated. And the flowers are not really as significant as the leaves themselves are. Again, over here, you have one prominent C shape from where these S shapes are leaving outward. So this would be a Telemark again. This one could be a Hallingdal because you have a big central flower which attracts a lot of attention. Only thing is this doesn't have a red background. I think these are more contemporary designs, and this might be a Rogaland because it's got so much symmetry everywhere. It's got a central flower, it's got vertical, horizontal symmetry. Now this one again looks very contemporary. The colors are very unusual. Firstly, monochromatic designs were not very common, not that I found, and nobody speaks about monochromatic unless it's in more contemporary terms. Again, this is a Telemark, C shape, S shape, fairly simplified. This might be again a Hallingdal, but again, no red background. I don't know. Now these are wooden panels. So I just wanted to show you how when they are applied on boxes or furniture, how pretty it looks. So the purpose of this illustration is not just to make an illustration and put it on the wall. In fact, that is what's becoming the contemporary use of these artworks. But look at how beautifully we can refresh old furniture pieces, or even trays. You might have wooden trays in your homes that you can just try one of these designs. You might have to use acrylic paint, sadly, but still, it would be for a good cause. Now, here's one image of from a church. This is also a Rosemaling. And if you do a Wikipedia search on Rosemaling, this would be shown as a picture from an old church that was originally built in some 1106 or something like that. But the paintings were done much later, and the entire church is filled with the walls full of these beautiful rose paintings. I'll leave it to you to discover this. So what happened with the Rosemaling was that since people made all of this on their furniture, they also made it on trunks, and many of these trunks went with immigrating Norwegians. So in the early 1800s, apparently, there was a lot of poverty and a lot of persecution. So a huge chunk, like a tenth of the Norwegian population, went off to America. And they, because they were mostly agrarian, they settled in somewhere around, I think, the Dakotas or Minnesota, that region. So a lot of them are Rosemaling artists from that region. And you do see a lot of that. Even I found an artist even in Alaska. So that was where they, I guess, cold country to cold country, the transition was pretty easy for them. They had to probably grow the same things from one place to the other. There is a different American Rosemaling or American Telemark design or American Rogaland design. You will come across those also. And overall, I found that they are pretty easygoing. Though there are some restrictions, there are no restrictions. There are some traditions behind how certain designs are constructed. I guess people are pretty easygoing. They want to allow everyone their own freedom. So newer artists are changing some stuff up and making it even more contemporary. So I'll share some more images of contemporary design, but in the meantime, before we get there, we can start off with some motifs. So I'll share with you some tips on how to paint this, because it's not just the drawing, but it's also the painting that will require a little bit of practice, and then creating the structure of the Rosemaling and then painting it. So we'll start with tiny motifs first, and then we'll build up to larger, we'll just bring them all together. Okay, so to start with, if we want to create this, I'm just going to go with this one structure that I have, but we'll make a tiny illustration of this for now, because I want you to see only the action lines over here, not necessarily, we may make the shape, we might not make the shape. So how this works, I'll keep both of these next to each other. So if you want to go ahead, you can, but I'm making this one as a tiny sample. So you first start with a center from where you will throw out a C shape. Now this C shape is built from multiple C shapes. So you have a C shape here, here, here. And you'll notice that this form is also very commonly seen in ancient Greek sculptures or even Roman sculpture. Then usually when you're making a design like that, you first mark out your large section. So you have one line like that. Then you have a line going towards 9 o'clock, which is an S shape. So you make the S shape first. And then you support that with a few more strokes. And here again, you have an inverted C shape. So you make the largest one first, and then you make these small supporting ones. So trying to get this rounded shape with a tapering end is our challenge. A lot of the painters of Rosemaling use flat brushes. So if any of you have a flat brush, you can use that. But I made this design using a round brush, and I can tell you it was not very difficult, but not very easy also. Now from here, you have a much slender S shape from where you will have C shapes going outward, and it's the color combination that makes one stand out and the other one recede. And this S shape actually goes around and comes out through like that. So now if you think about it, our main action lines are actually one C shape, one S shape. They're almost neck and neck. Then you have another C shape, another C shape. The green one I haven't even drawn here. So there's this one, and there's this one, and there's this one. It almost looks like an octopus. Now, if you wanted to make your own design and you didn't have, this almost looks like it would fit into a rectangular shape. I suppose it's perfectly fine if you were to make something just like this. So you would have this, and you would have this, and then you would probably have flowers coming down here and flowers going up here. So there's a lot of freedom allowed in these designs. Very often, you might also just have a C shape. I've shown you one of these illustrations like that, and an S shape going up. And then you would have a flower here, you would have a flower here, maybe a flower here, and a flower here. So just something simple like that is also possible. So the history of the Rosemaling is that this was an art form that came from peasants themselves. They used this as a means of earning some money during downtime between crops or during winter. So it's not, doesn't have a very formal structure. It's kept very casual, and every artist obviously would have added something or the other that was their own signature, either colors or certain motifs. And this is a kind of illustration style that goes for all kinds of artworks where patterns are involved. So the reason I like this a lot is because you start off with something simple, and then you can keep adding more and more things and make it more and more complicated. Now, suppose we were to do one of these other floral designs. Let me look for one very simple one. So the one on the box that had a circle, a flower in the center, then you had two leaf-like structures coming out from the top. Then you had two sprigs of what looked like some kind of grain going up to leaves. And then these two would have two flowers. And then more leaves. So it was just one big flower in the middle, two different types of flowers on either side. And here you can make it very decorative. You have a central, almost like one of those mandala flowers that we draw. And then between these you would have, I love this motif. I've been making a lot of these flowers for the doodle art workshop that I just had. And then of course you'll have little fillers like these dots. This is, I think, the fourth image that I've shared with you. Okay, so we can do any of these flowers. I'm quite inclined to do this one now that I've done this yesterday. I don't want to do the same one again. But do you want to choose whichever one you want to do? So maybe what we'll do is let us just practice a few brush strokes so that at least I can show you how to handle making those leaves and flowers. And then I'll leave it to you to pick whatever one you like and try and make that. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's start. Just start with any couple of colors. I'm going to just use a blue, a light blue, a dark blue, and maybe a red and crimson mix, and add a black. Now they use a lot of white also, but we may not be able to use an opaque white, but if you can, that's fine. Or you can just pull out an acrylic color or something like that. That's also fine. So starting off with some simple shapes like just the C shape, you can try making a C shape like this. Press your brush and pull the line down. So you don't draw the C shape. That's a big waste. You can adjust it afterwards. But if you're going to draw it, then it won't be too much fun. To this, then you can add a second shape. Adjust it. You can add a third shape, which could be just half. And if you rotate it, you can add one more, but they should all converge. See? And then you can pull all of this together into a nice round terminal. Now, depending upon how prominent this is in the design, you can also make it slightly thicker. And don't worry about the color breaking up like that or becoming a little patchy. That's not a worry right now. These designs were often made with tempera or colors that were a little more solid like acrylics. So we are not going to get that refined finish, but at least you can get good shapes. Now, just like this shape, we can also practice the S shape, which would be so press your brush down, pull it down into a stem. So I want you to minimize your work. I don't want you to sit and make the C shape when you can do this, when you can you can press the brush. You can also add something like this. And then part of this line can go further. So you have to just keep adding more and more stuff to this. You can add one more bunch of C's from here, say slightly thick, thick, and then thick like that. But try to keep the main stem just, it's like a bouquet of C shapes. It doesn't become too fat. And even with this, you can add more. Again, there seems to be some aesthetic about where you can add these extra shapes. Now, I haven't had enough time to research instructionals on this, but I'm sure you'll find a lot of videos, and they may have some rule about how to add more and more of these blobs at the end of the C shape. Just from basic aesthetics, I would say don't add two similar sized blobs on on either side of one C shape, because that will add too much bulk and may not really look as pleasant. And always have from the outside, no, it's not always from the outside, I guess. Yeah, it helps to have the final tapering end from the outside. And using the brush upright, you can turn that tapering end into itself and make a terminus, a ball terminus. So for those of you who are in the calligraphy class, you will notice whenever we go to flourishing, that many of these same rules apply in flourishing calligraphy letters as well. Now, there are different kinds of flowers that I've noticed in this. Some flowers are as simple as just, we can use different colors in this. So try using a yellow, an orange, and a red. And they're again all built with C shapes or an occasional S shape. So starting with the lightest color, you can make a C shape, press down and make a C shape like this, C shape like that, all converging, and only the central petal is really big and all the other petals can become small. This is on one side. And on the other side, you can use wet paint. So this merge is quite interesting. C shape from the other side. And over here, there's a motif. So you can make a motif like that and have your design end like this. So these are all, or even longer, you could have them even longer. There are a lot of color mixing things happening over here. Now this part in the reference image is white, but I'm just going to make it maybe a blue or something. So I'll wait for that to dry. Then in the same painting, I can use a thick red color. This is still wet, mind you, but I can use red or even crimson.
Thank you.
So this gives a very nice touch to the flower. We'll come back to this flower in a bit and I'll show you another bunch of flowers. So we can use similar colors as this for now. And for this, the shapes are C, C, and S. So you have a C shape. So every time I'm pressing down the brush, I make a fatter part of the C. The S comes between two C shapes. Then you have a C from one side and a C from the other side. So it's a very interesting looking flower, very fantasy flower. Doesn't really make too much sense. I'm going to make another one in orange. So you have, just for fun, I'm going to change the direction a little bit. You can have a C shape like this, C shape like that, S, and C, and another C. Oh, this becomes an S. No, this is a C. C, 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 and S. And then I think you can have another C like that. So all these look like, I hate these flowers because they look like nothing. After doing all those crazy mandala flowers, when you just see like puss flowers. But in the context of this, they look so beautiful. I would never have chosen to make these flowers. I mean, this is hardly a flower, it's so lazy. But you see things like that on our truck design. You will see them taking 2-3 colors on a flat brush and making some ugly petals. But on the truck, they look so beautiful. I have to just live with it. Okay. Here's one very complicated looking flower, but it's very nice. It's like a bell shape. So it's going to be facing downwards. So we can make it like that. C shape, a narrow C shape, and then an S shape. So that's one part of the bell. And then you have another C shape. So now you can see that they aren't really particular about symmetry. But what I want you to focus on is this brush manipulation. So start with the tip, press down, and then bring it up to the tip again. Again, start with the tip, start the line, press down, and bring it up to the tip again. These are the things that make your flower look pretty, and you don't have to press down or make the shape. Now, right behind this, we can make another S shape, so that will look like the sepal. And this transparency is also something that I found quite rampant. Often brush strokes are repeated, and a lot of dull tones are also used. So you can dull this color and go over some strokes again. Same way, C shape, S shape, and with only residual color in the brush. It does not have to be fresh color every time. Now, this is not the end of the flower. you can expect some kind of petal. Now, this was the, what is that complicated name of the style? The one with the folded acanthus leaf. Gudbrandsdal. So in these flowers, there were leaves that came from other sides. So I'm going to create the leaf SCC and then take it inward. And make this shape just because I've created a weird composition here. And then the outside of the leaf would be like that. So all this is painted and this looks like the inside of the leaf. Not so prominent. We want it to look like Taj Mahal. Again, over here, a very flattened S, C, C, roll the line inward. And then you could also create some C's here. Oh, ugly, ugly. And the inside is fully painted. So because of the use of light and dark shades, there was a lot of shading happening in this also. So you would have a dark shade somewhere over here, maybe you would have lines that run across. And then I have to make one more bluish green petal over here because of this ugly shape that I ended up making. So one of the videos I'll share with you, there's a delightful person who shows how he makes his Rosemaling, and every 2 seconds he says, "Oh, that looks very pretty. Oh, that looks very pretty." It's, it's so cute. So his explanations about the shapes are very nice, and also you'll notice that he does a lot of overlapping. So this is just one maybe base coat, but you can do 1,000 things in this. Keep adding to it. You can keep adding a deeper color perhaps. So even if these strokes are made, you can add strokes like these. And he adds a lot of his color because he works with acrylic. He adds a lot of his color when the paint is wet. But like I said, they seem to be a very easygoing lot. So if you want to use some of these patterns for your own decoration and come up with new ideas, I think they're not going to sue us for it. He also uses a very limited palette and keeps mixing those colors over and over again. So I'm doing the same. I've just used gamboge, orange, red, crimson, and oh no, wait, I've used 7 colors. He's used only 6. Well, there you go. So it's something else to do. So just lightening and darkening the colors with these shades is good enough. And then using a very thin brush, you can do some very interesting line work. So because our paper is white, I'm going to make either a dark blue or a purple shade like this. So this is black and crimson. Most Rosemaling are made on a very dark background. But the first flower, I'm modifying the design to make it on a white background, but changing the white colors, the light colors to a dark color. So using a thin brush, this is something that you might need a little bit of help with. Use a thick paint to draw with brush. So you have to be a little patient here. To get the right shape, you can of course always make it in pencil first. But there are strokes like these I've seen. I mean, you can see in the illustration where if this is the rose, then you'll have a large dot and a stem coming out like that. You will have lines that go very thin, go beyond the flower, and then turn around. So this can be a little frustrating. You can have more lines like this. And then you have these teardrop shapes. Receding teardrop shapes. This is also a very common design in flourishing, in ornamentation and calligraphy. Now above this flower, there was a blue colored motif, which was a combination of an S shape and a C shape. So starting from the center, and I'm flattening my brush a little bit over here so that I'm making an S shape like this, and next to that a C shape. Likewise, I think this is an S shape like this, and then a C shape. And again, these flowers are not left blank. So you can, I'm using a dark color. Now, just a disclaimer, I don't know whether dark on light is used or light on dark only has to be used. That as we go along, like I corrected myself with the mud paintings. If I find more information, I'll let you know. But I have seen contemporary artists using both. So I don't think they're that strict about it. But these are the things that you need to watch out for when you are trying to pick out a design that is native to another region. Often these things matter. Or at least we shouldn't assume that they don't matter. Okay, I've switched to a very fine brush now. I want to make these little marks here. So a dot or a teardrop and a curved line coming towards the center. And then the outline or the decorative line that we have is not always on the outline. When you leave a gap between colors, when you don't make it a very precise outline, that can also look quite beautiful and very handmade. It gives a very handmade quality. Now with these, we have this shape. Now here's a brush stroke I want to show you. The shape that I made over here. It is technically an S shape, but it's not the kind of bulky S shape. This is more brush manipulation. So you can do a shape like this. So deliberately create a bulbous shape over here. So start off with a hairline stroke. As you come down, add pressure and just add excess pressure and bring it downward. In the event that you can't manage these strokes, it's perfectly okay. You can make a stroke like this also, like this and like this, break it up, that's fine. So two C shapes, one inside the other. And then in most cases, don't forget that there is these kind of ornamentation lines. A big teardrop. You can make this teardrop even like this. Pull it towards you and press the brush. And as you go up the stem, reduce the teardrop shape. Okay, that is how you build in detail. So always look at the simplified form first, and then more detailed forms will follow. Now in this case, maybe I can use a deep blue. See here I've mixed blue and black together. And many times these lines also don't have, are not continuous. They either dry out, the color dries out, or they can't complete the line like this. That adds to the softness of the pictures. You don't need to complete everything. Now imagine if you're a traditional artist, so for the flowers, I think I'll use a different color. It's looking too dark. If you are one of these traditional artists, and if you've ever seen, whenever you've traveled, if you've seen handicraft being sold or made somewhere, you'll notice how more often than not, these guys are working on very low margins and are making multiple designs, multiple products every day. So they really don't have time to sit and make very fine designs or make sure that their lines touch the edges precisely. So that's where this, in most cases I found with native arts, there's a certain casual air to at least the lines. I think in this case, I might have to add a few shapes like these. Here again, it's the same process. Press the brush down so that you get a nice rounded edge. And then on this flower, they also add more design. So here are some more strokes for brush manipulation. You have one stroke which is like this also, where you can fishtail it. You have one that's just around, even this can be fishtailed, I guess. Then you can have just pressing into a bulb. And then you can have leaf-like shapes, so going outward, going inward. So all these are strokes created by brush manipulation. At every point, there's one line or one part of the line which has only the tip touching, and in another part, in some direction or another, you are pressing the brush downward. And in front of all of these, I see that you have something like that. Some kind of extra lines. Now remember, this is just a motif. All these are only motifs. Okay. Do you feel comfortable now?
I'm still trying to get used to it.
It's hard.
It is,
difficult.
yes. Okay, let's try one more flower. This one looks very pretty. I think I'm enjoying this, making these shapes.
But Aditi, I observe one thing. If the brush is pointed, I'm
Mhm.
able to make. If it doesn't have a pointed end, right? It's
Uh-huh.
very difficult.
Yeah, so I guess what you should do is at every point, roll the brush in your paint. So that comes out with a sharper edge.
Hmm.
So these two flowers are very cute in the box again, in the fourth
I
picture.
think you need to have like really good brushes that come to a good point also. Some
Yeah.
of them are like,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah,
you
you
know.
do. But again, you can use any size brush, huh? Though I use this brush. One of the thicker brushes has better point than the thinner brush, than this one, sorry. So I'm using this one more often than not for very fine lines. And this one you can see it's all very blunt. I guess I used it a lot. So this one I can't use, and this one I'm using for the fine filigree lines. So I'm converting the red and white flowers into yellow and red flowers. And in this, I am now adding two shapes while the paint is still wet. And both of them are going to converge, and there's going to be a common stem for both of these. So I'll make that stem first. Maybe I can make the stem in blue. So there's a dot that's going to come here. I'm not making the dot first. Now, this is the case I've noticed even when we'd gone to that Dutch pottery factory, that all the artists over there were making, even here you'll see it in the Jaipur pottery also, they make these strokes so casually and you feel, "Arey, how will I make this? Fatafat, they know how much color to fill, where to let the stroke just finish automatically." Quite wonderful. Just practice, no? They keep doing this day in and day out for years. I think even in their sleep, they'll be doing this.
I don't mind doing it in my sleep. It's better than
Yeah.
all the other thoughts I have. Keep me awake.
But I love these little motifs. And I'm so excited about trying my hand out, painting this on bits of furniture now. I think they look wonderful.
But if they're using acrylic paints or opaque
Yeah.
paints,
Mm.
it is surprising that they can get so much of detail, because somehow I find that they're thicker. Viscosity really affects. Now with watercolor, you can get so much of fine work.
Oh no, with acrylic,
didn't
you'd
use
be
acrylic.
surprised. It is.
Really? I find it very thick also. I don't know how to use acrylic. I tried, but the brush also looks so yucky. Full of paint.
Acrylic for projects like these is wonderful because it is thick. So you can imagine that thick, gloopy paint just, once you apply it, hopefully it doesn't dry too fast. So then when you make these multiple color things now, they look very nice. I just feel sad that it's so environment unfriendly that my hands just stop working when I work with acrylic. But yeah, so they're just my pipe dreams that someday I'll make a table that looks like that.
What about gouache then?
Anything that's water resistant, anything that we have to put on furniture will have to be water resistant.
But if you varnish it?
Again, varnish is also, unless we use some linseed oil or something. No, but when you varnish anything that is not waterproof, it
Waterproof,
comes
yeah.
away. Yeah, so you'll just be wiping away all of that.
Right.
So my only hope is that that piece of furniture has to be so spectacular that nobody wants to destroy it for 100 years. Then it becomes environment friendly. And then at the end of its life, it can just go up in flames. So my suggestion is that try out more motifs like these. There are several samples. I'll also add some more samples that I have. These are just a smattering. And don't worry too much about which style you're doing, because I mean, it doesn't really matter. I would still say try to study and recreate one entire motif of one style. So bits and pieces of that one style or one design can be practiced, and then like Lego bricks, you can put it all together. Because then you're staying truthful in your study. And then, of course, if you want to just do some time pass practice, you're free to do whatever you want. Okay, so
This is
for
fun, but because the
huh,
basic stroke is simple, and you can create like such intricate patterns with it.
yeah, and if you try this with a flat brush, and I'm looking if I have even one flat brush, I don't have it here. I mean, I have one which is so fat. I need a bigger thing, but a flat brush works very well to make this shape. So you can, maybe I'll try one and I'll show you.
Like this one. Huh?
Yeah, correct. So if I were to, the flat brush, the advantage is that it has an edge. So you can create a chisel. One side that is chiseled. Oh, what did I do? Yes, so this part, you can make a thin line and a fat line, and you can make a diagonal line. So if depending upon how I use it, I can create a C shape like this. I can create an S shape like this. And of course, I can join the two, and then between the two of them also, I can make a very interesting C, S, C, S border. And then if I want to make that flourish, I can do this. And then I can just do this. So it becomes a lot easier to create the C shape because it all ends in this form much easier than with a round brush. We do a lot of this in, what have I done this in? Brush lettering. So there's a Slovenian artist called Loredana Zega, a young artist who does a lot of this work with flat brushes, and it's just spectacular.
Aditi, does this also work with filbert? Because the
Sorry?
edges, those rounded edges that we see, I've often associated with the filbert brush, which is nice and rounded. So when you press down a filbert, you get that shape as is.
Oh yeah, all these fancy brushes, maybe we should try. I've never given that a thought.
I never really tried filbert until recently, but once you do, you get that shape, that rounded shape, almost perfectly for flowers. I don't see its
Okay.
application in other things, so that's why I don't, you don't see I wouldn't call it a brush that you want to use more often because it has a very limited use.
Nice, nice. Okay. Should be possible. But then tell me something. With that, you get that round edge and you can also pull it to a point.
Yes, you can pull it. You can pull it. But you
Sure.
can't do too much. So I have played around with it and I have found that I can't do too much of. Now, if I want to get those fine lines afterwards,
That you won't
that
do.
is risky business. That is very risky business. You can taper it to the end. But after that, if I want to put a few more flourishes, filbert is probably not good for that.
No, but I guess you don't need to do that. So now I'm imagining for the basic broad structure of any of these Rosemaling, you can use that filbert brush. And then you can use a fine brush to create
Fine, yeah.
the other illustrations. And beyond that also, you could use a slightly rounder brush to create the ball terminals at the ends of those curves also. That's also possible.
Yeah.
But all in all, I found this very pretty. This is definitely not my favorite style because it's just too, I don't know, it's too loose for me. But when I've seen so many examples and when you see it a little closer, I think it's just beautiful. It has tremendous applications. The other thing also one can think about is converting these into a graphic form. So if you are into digital illustration or anything, these shapes are so nice. They're so easy to put together that you can create very nice graphic flowers out of it. Let me show you some interesting applications that I found. So where are we? Oh, 1 second. Somebody's showing it. Oh, very nice, Shivani. Look at that. That's beautiful.
It looks nice when it's all put together.
Exactly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the usual ones. But I found somebody who makes these cards. See, I don't know whether they are handmade, hand painted first and then they're printed, but so pretty. The colors are so beautiful. Then this is, I think, another style, which is Vest Agder, which is a part of that region also, which is also in Norway. But I didn't get to this, unfortunately, ran out of time. This would be Rogaland, as you can see over here, I've shared. Oh, by the way, so this guy, Nils Ellingsgaard, was a very famous Rosemaling artist. And if you want to, you can just do a little bit of research on this guy, Nils Ellingsgaard. Okay, this is the Hallingdal classic. You have a red colored background and you have central flowers, lots of leaves. This is ours, the one that this is the one that I have done sample of. I'm forgetting. No, this is another one. So this is Telemark design. Now I found a few of these also. I can share these with you now. So here they have shown the construction, like the complicated acanthus construction, some flowers. So this is one. This is the Gudbrandsdal, and this is the Valdress, which is another type of very decorative style. So these are two different valleys, different styles, but they put them together. Here now there are different strokes, all brush manipulation, which you can convert. Look at these weird flowers. Oh.
They look pretty. The colors, right?
They look pretty in the context, but I keep thinking this is, I don't know how these are pretty, but they are pretty,
They are
undeniable.
pretty, yeah. They're really
This one I absolutely love. This is more my taste. Make it very complicated and people should die just looking at it. So this one, I'm not sure. I found it under the same search, Rosemaling, but I don't know whether it is the same. You do see these C-shaped flowers and the S shape, but this is too graphic. So this is a very modern version. And it's very possible that younger people are now making things simplified like this. So this is a beautiful box. And here you can see a lot of transparencies. So the transparency was also part of one particular design style, but I can't really remember now which one. So you might come across that. This is another beautiful application. Such a simple wooden door, but make it a nice base color and put some brilliant flowers. It does look very bohemian, but still so pretty. And there's a Swiss cowbell. So I have no idea now whether this is a Rosemaling or whether this is Swiss. Complete
On the
confusion.
wood paint would they use to make something like that?
On wood? On wood, you can use all sorts of pigments as long as you make a tempera out of it. So as far as I know, you can add any pigment to egg yolk and then that becomes a lot more permanent. And it stays on longer also. So earlier times when oil paintings were made, they were mostly tempera paints. So you grind a powder of any pigment that you have. I mean, literally any powder pigment that you can find and put it with egg yolk and I think a little bit of linseed oil or something. And then that becomes worth applying on any surface. Very gloopy.
Okay.
So at some point we should try it. Yeah, I think it's all fun if you know where this comes from. In fact, I have recently come across on Instagram a group that makes paint from everything that is earth related. I mean, from earth. So they will take things like marigold flowers and then make blitz them completely or something like that, and then extract the color of marigold flowers into a powder. It's a very long process and lots of chalni karo, फिर pulverize karo, फिर usko dry karo, और फिर uska powder bana. So it's very time consuming, but these are people who are, I think, so interested in creating earth friendly colors, and they've made the colors out of absolutely everything possible. So if I find that again, because now with Instagram, their dumb algorithm just shows us all sorts of ads. If I find it again, I'll share it with you because it's fascinating how they've come up with so many color pigments. And then you just add that egg tempera and make it ready for use. And mostly this will be usable in as an oil color. But the same pigment, if you add, what did I see the other day? Water and gum arabica, then it can be used as watercolor also. So the difference between gum arabica is water soluble, but that linseed oil and egg yolk becomes more permanent. So yeah, that's it for our native arts. Now next month we are doing all sorts of design. So we'll be doing textile design, we'll be doing, if there's any other design that you want to, definitely some layout designs. And this year again, I wanted to ask you if you want to come up with, if you want to contribute towards a cookbook, then we can dedicate one lesson next month for recipe illustration. One or even two are fine, because that still falls under the layout design category. And Elaine had a wonderful suggestion, and I could consider that a separate project where you can illustrate home remedies, and we could put them all together in one booklet. So she visited some place where these guys were in a very rural setting or even jungle setting, and they knew their jadi booties around so well. For every little thing, they had some quick remedy, which to us is now lost. So if you have some tried and tested recipes, even if it is like doodh haldi, or my mom used to give me some cloves whenever I felt nauseous.
Yeah, cardamom.
All these, yeah. So these things can also be illustrated as pages that we can put together. So think about it. We have some time. I would like to have them ready for print by maybe end of August or early September, so that these books can be launched around Diwali time. It's usually better around Diwali. People are looking for gifts either for themselves or the family. So this would be nice and a good curiosity. Okay, so start noting these down. And of course, there is calendar also. The calendar design is always there. And we can use anything that we have done over the past 3 years as a topic for the calendar. So you all can send in your suggestions and put it on the Art from Home group, so that everybody, even non-participants in the classes right now, can consider giving their entries. All right. Okay, so that concludes class today. I'm going to share these images with you, and also share my finished Rosemaling, so that if you want to replicate the same, you can do that. And please put your pictures of your finished illustrations on the group, and add pressure to the people who are not able to paint or are not doing any painting during the week. Make them feel guilty.
Can I show you something I've been working on? It's not finished yet.
Okay.
So this I picked it up from that workshop that took place, the workshop week, and I'm making a big poster of it. Well,
Oh, lovely. Very nice.
yeah. I'm still working on the details.
Wonderful.
It says all it takes is one song to bring back 1,000 memories.
Oh, nice.
True. That's true. Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Good. That workshop week was very nice.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
such fun.
Fantastic.
It was really such fun.
Right, yeah.
I mean, if you were one of the instructors, I was just thinking, all through the week I was thinking, if Aditi could do this, if Aditi could do that, I'm like, okay. Instead of just thinking it, I probably put it down in the list. Fortunately, they put a
Yeah.
thread asking for suggestions for instructors. So I said, okay, there you go. There's my chance.
Yeah, that was very
It's
nice.
fascinating. It's fascinating, not because, I mean, if you ask me honestly, everything is not for everyone. You have to admit you're not going for it for everything.
Yeah.
But you do come across a few things that really appeal to you.
Yeah.
And of course, the same things, different people have a different take. Like portraiture, for example, Aditi, I've always done it the way you taught us. And I was seeing another approach, of starting the face with a circle. And I've never thought of that, like you keep the circle and then draw the jaw in. And I've never attempted it that way. I'm still not very successful that way, but I did not thought of it that way. That it was very nice to see another approach.
Oh, yeah. There are
great.
everybody has so many wonderful techniques. It's always great to mix it up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really good.
All the trainers are all quirky and different. Each one will be super quiet. And you're like, really? Like the guy who's
Alka and I
doing
were
this
just
one.
discussing that.
And then there's these 2-3 who are just absolutely extravagant, extroverted.
Alka and I were just saying
Extra
that the
talking, my
European
God, they
trainers
wouldn't
are
shut
so
up.
nice.
The
European ones, they
the
have
Europe-
restriction on language and vocabulary, and so they will only speak what is essential. Versus North American ones are just like
Gathering
going
away,
on and
my God,
on.
non
The table is too much, and she's so active.
But a lovely idea. I think this is a great way to.
But you know what, Aditi, we should also have something like this, no, India mein.
Yeah, we should.
Because
Definitely.
I'm sure we have artists like this who can, we have a whole genre of things that that are unique to India.
That's true. That's true.
So if you think of something like a workshop week in India, where you have Indian artists with different Indian expertise coming and putting forth,
I should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
we
even
should.
our indigenous arts, like,
exactly.
Warli, Madhubani, all of that is doable. These workshops are all 1 hour max, or
Yeah.
maybe a little over 1 hour. So there's so much that they can do.
I think, yeah, I think the whole idea of this workshop week itself was wonderful.
Wonderful, yeah. And
Maybe
also the
to
fact that they
organize
have
it.
the workshop
The coordinate is
free
very
for a
difficult actually.
24 hours afterwards, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was easier to
Basically,
catch the recording because I could keep
Yeah.
I was
pausing
doing
it
only
as.
the recording. I didn't
Even
attend.
I
Made
did
it
only the
free.
recordings. I didn't catch any of them live.
Yeah.
It's too fast.
It was really good. And those who
So,
want to continue after can always take,
Yeah.
pay and get some benefit
Yeah.
from, which
uh,
makes sense, right? Which,
That's
I mean-
perfect, yeah. It's great for the artists and it's great for people to have the opportunity also. And a lot of times people will know after the workshop is done, "Okay, yeah, I should have done this."
Correct.
So yeah, you do it.
even the thing
Yeah.
where she was cutting letters from paper, that was so
That was
easy
so nice.
and so
Great fun.
attractive. Oh God, it looks
Miss
so
that.
pretty.
I loved it.
Really lovely.
Yeah.
And nothing like, there's no कि it has to be cut to this precision और इसको ऐसे ही काटना है और इसको तुम ऐसे, it has to be sized equally, nothing of that.
Nothing.
It's very free. Yeah. Okay, ladies, I need to rush off. You all can
Yeah.
continue chatting because I have to go to my next class. I have to drive through rain. So I'll catch you all again next week. Hopefully everybody comes back and joins again. Okay.
Shivani, you should look at Susan's and my Insta pages for all our work. It's there.
Yeah.
Whatever we did.
Susan, I follow. Let me find you. I don't follow you.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.